Part 9. 9 Generations of Villains, the heroines have all turned evil. Author, Fu Zituo. Chapter 81. Let's not talk about Lin Mubai for now. Xuanhuan I thought Zhang Lianyu's madness had improved, but now it seems to have worsened. Fortunately, the Grand Elder returned to the sect a few days ago and brought back 2 more 9 abyssal fetuses, otherwise she really didn't know what to do. In fact, the previous question was just a prelude. Glancing at Qingning, who was playing with the white tiger, Xuanhuan I finally asked the key point. Li Faju said that Qingning was crazy and wanted to bury people alive. Is this true? Absolutely true. Without the slightest hesitation, Zhang Chen directly sold Qingning. Hey, I have always taught Qingning to have a kind heart, but it's a pity that she doesn't listen. Not only does she want to bury Lin Feng alive, she has also buried more than a dozen cultivators in the Dan Pavilion. Ah! She is so crazy. Xuanhuan I opened her beautiful eyes wide and couldn't believe it. Yes, those people died tragically. This is a serious matter, you can't talk nonsense. Master, I saw it with my own eyes. Xuanhuan I was sad and silent for a long time before she sighed. Hey, why is there another madman? With her cultivation, she could tell at a glance that Qingning was not right, but she just couldn't believe it. Master, this matter must be severely punished. I think not only Qingning, but also the 2 crazy people Lin Mubai and Zhang Lianyu should be imprisoned in the sect prison for at least 100 years. Only in this way can we be worthy of the souls who died because of them, Zhang Chen said more seriously than ever before. This. Xuanhuan I hesitated. The Juyan sect prison is located in the Shaofeng, which is specially used to imprison the elders and disciples of the sect who have made serious mistakes but are not guilty of death. It contains the sword intent left by Jianfeng, the cultivation suppression formation arranged by Zhenfeng, the dragon trapping talisman posted by Fufeng, and several bloodthirsty monsters placed in Yushaofeng. These things will make the cultivators trapped in them face the situation of being injured by sword intent and hunted by big monsters every day. If they are trapped for a long time, the punishment is almost as severe as abolishing their cultivation and being expelled from the sect. Master, don't hesitate, this matter concerns the reputation of the sect. Zhang Chen strikes while the iron is hot. Wait, you just said you saw it with your own eyes. Yes. I saw it clearly. Then why don't you stop it? Seeing that Xuanhuan I seemed to be angry, Zhang Chen slipped away directly. He just wanted Xuanhuan I to lock up the 3 lunatics to avoid affecting his plan, but he didn't expect to get himself involved. But after taking a few steps, Li Faju appeared in front of him again. Zhang Chen, you destroyed Lingshanfang, hundreds of cultivators were seriously injured, and 3 people died on your ancient sword path. Quickly drive the spirit boat and follow me back to the sect for trial, Li Faju said expressionlessly. In response, Zhang Chen just smiled and uttered a big word, get lost. You are so arrogant. Hearing this, Li Faju was furious and wanted to draw his sword. But just as he made a move, a strong breath came down from the sky. The breath was like thousands of mountains, with a thunderous force. Even if he used all his energy, he could not resist it. The next second. Bang! Li Faju was sweating profusely and knelt on one knee in front of Zhang Chen. His knee went through the deck of the spiritual boat. His eyes were bloodshot and his whole body was trembling. He raised his head and shouted angrily, Chen Sheng. How dare you, you devil, touch me? Why not? Zhang Chen looked down and answered instead, this place is 600 miles away from Juyan section. The agreement between the Zhang family and Juyan sect is that Zhang family members are not allowed to enter the 100-mile range of Juyan section. What if I touch you? Li Faju was speechless. He was too ashamed and angry, and veins on his forehead were bulging. Zhang Chen Xuanhuan I, who was far away, called out softly when she saw this. Zhang Chen had no choice but to wave his hand. At the same time, the powerful aura rolled up a spiritual hurricane, which turned into a huge palm and directly slapped Li Faju and other disciples of the law enforcement hall off the spiritual boat. After rolling in the air, Li Faju fell directly to the ground below. He groaned and roared again, "Zhang Chen! If you don't return to the sect to be tried within 3 days, you will be punished for treason." Zhang Chen sneered. Of course he would go back to Julian's section. The plot finally got back on track, and he still had to brush the system rewards there, and while torturing Lin Feng, he also wanted to attract hatred. It's just that this time the incident was a bit big, and I don't know what the sect leaders want to do with him. If he is expelled from the sect directly, then he will guard outside Julian's sect and deal with Lin Feng as long as he dares to come out. When he has done enough, he will return to the Zhang family. "I told you not to rely on the power of the Zhang family." Xiao Hongai came with a gloomy face. "Master, do you mean that I surrender and let Li Faju tie me up and send me back to the sect?" Zhang Chen asked back. "No, I mean," Xiao Hongai took a deep breath and said, "I said that no matter what happens, I will protect you back to the sect." Zhang Chen was silent. Xiao Hongai shook her head and asked again, "This matter is too big, and Deng Gyuda has always been on good terms with Julian's section. I can't protect you. If you go back, the head of the sect will punish you severely." "What will Master do then?" Zhang Chen asked back. "What do you want me to do?" Zhang Chen found out. Every time he had a deep conversation with Xiao Hongai, he would be speechless. Because of the repetition of the 9 reincarnations, he always knew it. The master in front of him always asked him to take care of his junior brothers and sisters and take on the responsibility of being the eldest brother of Zhu Feng. Besides that, as long as he doesn't commit a heinous crime, Xiao Hongai will protect him. Of course, Xiao Hongai will still be angry and scold him, but she will never be completely disappointed in him for no one. This time, I'm afraid it will be the same. "Master, you don't have to worry about this matter." After a long time, Zhang Chen finally spoke. "If you are afraid, you can return to the Zhang family. Master will not stop you." Xiao Hongai answered irrelevantly. "Afraid?" Zhang Chen smiled. In the previous 9 lives, he had taken countless blames and was never afraid. This life was what he did, so how could he be afraid? "Return to the sect." Zhang Chen turned his head and ordered his younger brothers. He proved himself with actual actions, and he was not false at all. Seeing this, Xiao Hongai smiled with relief. Maybe this time, Zhang Chen made a big mistake again, but just based on this attitude of daring to face it, it is worth her protecting him to the end. "Master, don't you realize that you don't understand yourself?" Zhang Chen suddenly said again. "What do you mean?" Xiao Hongai was puzzled. "It's okay, just a casual remark." Zhang Chen smiled and shook his head. In every life, before being expelled from the sect, whenever he made a big mistake, Xiao Hongai would always protect him and say this is the last time. But by the time he was really expelled from the sect, he didn't know how many last times had passed. This is Xiao Hongai. A woman who thought she could be cruel but always protected him, a woman who would hug him tightly and cry before he died no matter what the truth was, even if she was completely disappointed. Well, it's pretty stupid. It would be great to follow fate like Zhang Lianyu and the others. At least in this way, Xiao Hongai would not live in entanglement and pain every day. Soon, the spirit boat moved slowly. Zhang Chen was going to rest for a while, but suddenly stopped and looked at the Hongduan mountains behind him with a suspicious look. "What's wrong?" Xiao Hongai asked. "Master, did you hear someone calling me?" Zhang Chen wondered. Xiao Hongai shook her head. Zhang Chen didn't think much about it, just thought he had misheard. In the sky, an old man in a purple robe saw the spirit boat going far away, and was about to follow it, but he heard Zhang Chen say, "Old Chen, stay." Ah, the old man sighed. Zhang Chen didn't let him follow, and he had no choice. He could only watch the spirit boat go farther and farther, and finally disappear from his sight. His expression and figure were like an old man watching his grandson leave, with a bit of vicissitudes and frustration. After a few minutes, the old man finally retracted his gaze, and when he was about to leave, his pupils suddenly shrank. Huh? Three-tailed white fox. 9 generations of villains, the heroines have all turned evil. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 82. A few days ago. A white fox with a body as white as frost, blue eyes as flawless as the sky, 3 tails and a blue flame mark on the forehead woke up from a deep sleep. It has no name. Maybe it had one, but it can't remember it. It doesn't even know why it is here and where it came from. The monsters around it all call it Little Fox, but it doesn't like this name because it feels it is not small. But when it refutes, it doesn't know its own age. Perhaps because its memory is like a blank sheet of paper, the little fox rarely dreams. But recently, it's the same dream again, the little fox murmured. Although it can't remember the situation in the dream as soon as it wakes up, it is sure that it is the same dream, because every time it wakes up with a smile. It's obviously a smile, but why does it hurt? The little fox was puzzled. In a daze, it fell asleep again. It was still the same dream, and it gradually became clearer. Although I still couldn't hear or see clearly, I could smell a fragrance. This fragrance is hard to describe in words, but it makes it feel comfortable, as if it is in a harbor. And the source of the fragrance is not a flower or an object, but seems to be a person, and a man. Little fox, we meet again, said the vague man in the dream. Why did he say again? The little fox was puzzled, but driven by curiosity, he walked towards the man. Human, you smell so good, what's your name? The little fox asked. Before asking others' names, you should say your own name first. This is polite. I don't have a name, maybe I do, but I don't remember it. Then I'll give you one. No, I'm a proud fox. I don't need a human to name me. Then why are you shaking your tail so fast? You're not a dog. The dream stopped abruptly, and the little fox woke up suddenly. It was only a moment in the dream, but it found that several days had passed in reality. Could this be my memory? A forgotten memory, the little fox got excited. Without memory, it felt very lonely. Other monsters have parents and friends, but it doesn't. It tried to make friends, but those monsters hated it and avoided it. It obviously did nothing, and it obviously didn't remember anything. Seeing the hope of regaining its memory, the little fox tried to fall asleep again. But this time, it couldn't fall asleep no matter what. Not only that, it even felt that something more important than its life seemed to be getting farther and farther away from it. The little fox was anxious. Although its reason told itself that it must not leave the depths of the Xuanhuan mountains, the outside world was too dangerous. But it couldn't control the throbbing in its heart, and finally ran out. The little fox finally left. If it doesn't leave, it will hurt me. A certain demon king looked at its back and said. The little fox heard this, and although it felt uncomfortable, it also quickened its pace. The scenery around it quickly receded, and its speed became faster and faster. Very strange. It clearly didn't know where to go, but it was always running in one direction. It clearly didn't know what it was looking for, but it just refused to give up. It felt as if there was a hole in its heart, but it couldn't cry. After passing through the mountains and ridges, it came to the middle section of the Xuanhuan mountains. The little fox saw a pit, and there was a spiritual shovel next to the pit. It came to the front section of the Xuanhuan mountains and stopped at the top of a dangerous peak. At this time, it had fallen and injured many times. Unknowingly, the snow-white fox fur had been stained with a layer of gray soil, mixed with a trace of bright red. The little fox looked around. It still didn't know what it was looking for, but it was still looking. It saw the ruined Lingshanfang. Although there were many monks gathered in the square, it only took a quick glance and lost interest. Going further, it would leave the Hongduan Mountains. This made the little fox hesitate and a little scared. But it was only a moment. Soon it moved its four legs again and rushed out. It stumbled along the way through the dense forest. Finally, its vision suddenly became clear, and a spirit boat suspended in the sky came into its sight. Plop, plop. Its heartbeat suddenly accelerated. At this moment, the little fox finally understood. The spirit boat suspended in the air should be the target it had been looking for dozens of miles. But why, the little fox still didn't understand. In any case, after finding the target, it felt much more at ease. Incredibly, as it got closer and closer to the spirit boat, those dreams that had been forgotten and extremely vague gradually became clearer. Before the little fox had time to recall it carefully, it saw the spirit boat set sail and went farther and farther. It panicked again in an instant, and gritted its teeth and ran again. Helplessly, with its foot strength, it could not keep up with the speed of the spirit boat. It could only watch the spirit boat go farther and farther, and its heart, which was finally filled, seemed to be cut open by a knife. Suddenly, the little fox fell several feet away. After gritting its teeth and getting up, it found that the spirit boat had pulled away from it. It wanted to shout, but didn't know what to shout. It wanted to cry to the sky, but still couldn't cry. At this moment, a conversation in the dream became completely clear and emerged in its mind. Little fox, I have thought of your name. It's Xuanhuan. Why? You are the Nine Heavens fox, with the surname Nine, and snow white as frost, so naturally you are Nine Frost. But I would rather have the surname Bai. That won't do, having the surname Bai will make you stupid, there was a stupid tiger like that. Oh, what about you? What's your name? My name is. As the spirit boat completely disappeared, the conversation came to an abrupt end, and the surroundings were terribly silent. How could it be? The little fox was struck by lightning. Its eyes were dull, and it kept shaking its head. Unbelievable. How could it forget such an important thing? How could it forget? It turned out that it had a name, Nine Frost. It turned out that it had been looking for someone, and it was a man. And the man's name was. Thinking of this, the little fox suddenly jumped up, and chased like crazy in the direction where the spirit boat disappeared, and shouted, Zhang Chen! Wait for me! The voice was ethereal and beautiful, and it spread away, but there was no response, and the disappeared spirit boat did not return. A sense of powerlessness arose spontaneously, but the little fox did not give up. It quickened its pace. Even though the blood in its body was gradually insufficient, even though its vision began to blur and its eyes gradually dimmed, it still told itself. It would definitely, and must, find the man who gave it a name. Huh? Three-tailed white fox, an old voice suddenly sounded. The next second, the little fox felt that he was picked up by someone and was unable to resist. What caught its eye was an old man with sinister eyes, and it was obvious that he was not a good person. Old man, let me go. You stink, the little fox kept struggling. Ha ha, little fox. It's not that I stink, but you are the Nine Heavens ghost fox, who knows people's hearts and knows good and evil. I, an old man, have killed so many people, so of course I stink, the old man laughed. Don't call me a little fox. I'm not small, and I have a name, the little fox retorted. It's not important. It's important. Very important. More important than my life. Maybe you think so now, but it won't be long before you forget this thing that's more important than life. Why? Because. The old man's eyes suddenly turned cold and he sneered, because you don't have a heart, because the nine heavens fox is also called the destiny fox. You are destined to be just a puppet. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. 9 generations of villains, the heroines have all turned evil. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 83. Chen Sheng's words were like a sharp knife, instantly piercing the little fox's heart. It kept shaking its head and yelled hysterically, "You are talking nonsense. I have a heart, I will be happy, uncomfortable, and lonely. And I also have a name, Xuanhuan. I am not a puppet." Really, Chen Sheng's sneer became even stronger. "Then will you cry?" The little fox was struck by lightning again. Cry? It really doesn't seem to be the case. Even if it feels like a knife, even if it hurts like a knife, it can't cry, just like it doesn't have any tears. Little fox, you are so pathetic, but what is even more pathetic are the people and monsters who are close to you. Chen Sheng said sympathetically, 9 heavenly ghost fox charms all living beings. Before you transformed, the monsters of the opposite sex would avoid you, because they know that as long as they get close to you, they will become confused and lose themselves. After you transform, just looking back and smiling can make countless monks go crazy for you, which will also make humans feel scared. The little fox doesn't know this. Even if he is a Xuanhuan, this is the first time he heard about it today. But it also had a feeling that the old man in front of it seemed to be right. After hesitating for a long time, it said sadly, "This is not my fault, and this is not what I want." "It's not your fault." Chen Sheng resumed his sneer, "Your existence is a sin. You are a sharp knife that hurts people. You are like the candle swaying in the wind and rain, making everyone feel pity, but when you turn your head, you will destroy those who are there. The person who held an umbrella for you in the wind and rain and used his fragile body to protect your growth has been completely forgotten." After a pause, he smiled again. "It is said that the 9 heavens fox knows people's hearts and knows good and evil, but how many people know that you are the biggest evil? Do you think I smell bad, old man? Don't you think you can smell it? Do you have that stench that hurts people's hearts?" These words exploded directly in the little fox's mind. Such straightforward and fatal words made it subconsciously want to deny it, but it could not find any words to refute it. Obviously it doesn't remember anything. "At this moment, I am so overwhelmed by sin that I can hardly breathe." Suddenly, a bright light appeared in its eyes and said, I will not forget. Although I forgot, I remembered it again. My name is Xuanhuan. The person who named me is Zhang Chen. He is very fragrant, he has a nice smile, I like him very much. Zhang Chen. This name struck his ears, and Chen Sheng frowned. The reason why he caught the little fox was because he heard the little fox call Zhang Chen's name. It was originally a trend of curiosity, but I didn't expect that this little fox would be given a name by Zhang Chen. No, that's not right. Chen Sheng didn't believe it. My young master is a genius, outstanding. How could he be related to you, a sinful 9 Tianyuhu? How could you find him so attractive? It's just nonsense. Your young master's name is Zhang Chen. The little fox's eyes lit up. Of course the old man nodded. A genius? Outstanding. Everyone knows it. Tell me more about it. Forget it, let you listen to the deeds of my young master. Yeah, tell me quickly. The little fox kept nodding, his light blue eyes full of expectation. Speaking of Zhang Chen, Chen Sheng is no longer sleepy. He put the little fox down, floated cross-legged 1 foot in the air, and said proudly, "My young master was born with an evil smile. He bullied boys at the age of 3, and dominated girls at the age of 10. He learned it all without a teacher. He is a genius." The little fox was stunned. Is this called a genius? You mean the evil side, right? After joining the Juyan sect, my young master beat his fellow disciples, molested his junior sister, and even wanted to be a master and rebel disciple. He showed his differences in every aspect, did not follow the crowd, and left others behind. This is what makes him stand out. The little fox's face turned dark. It's really outstanding, but in a bad way. Seeing Chen Sheng immersed in pride, it said speechlessly, "Is there anything else? It's a little more normal." Of course, Chen Sheng smiled proudly. "Yeah, tell me quickly. My young master never talks much, and if he doesn't take action, he will definitely destroy his whole family. He is so reserved and resolute, he can be called a model of you can take action but never push." The little fox was speechless again. Seeing Chen Sheng's expression of "my young master is so awesome," it felt that there was something wrong with this man's brain. It also guesses. Maybe they just have the same name and surname, and this Zhang Chen is not that Zhang Chen. After all, the Zhang Chen in the dream had such a clean smile and smelled so good. Humph. Your young master must be a bad guy. He is not the Zhang Chen I am looking for, the little fox denied. Hearing this, Chen Sheng's face turned cold again. Bad guy. All things are born to nourish people. People have nothing to repay God with, and monsters are no exception. How pitiful this God is. If you want to be a good person or a monster, why? Why don't you commit suicide here and sacrifice yourself to heaven? The little fox was speechless and felt that the old man in front of him could not communicate at all. After getting up and shaking off the dust on its body, it ran towards the direction where the spirit boat disappeared again. It originally thought that Chen Sheng would block it, and was prepared to struggle. Who would have guessed? Chen Sheng just looked at it, with a strange smile on his lips, without any movement. It's weird, old man, ah. As soon as he finished vomiting, the little fox felt that he had hit a wall, his body was bounced back to the previous position, and he felt his head was buzzing. After shaking its head for a while, it stood up and looked at Chen Sheng. "What do you want to do, old man? Do you want to kill me?" "Kill you? Why should I kill you?" Chen Sheng asked. "Didn't you say that I am guilty? Your sins are indeed serious, but I am not a saint, so what does it have to do with me? Then what do you want to do?" "Don't worry, I won't kill you anyway." Hearing this, the little fox breathed a sigh of relief. It knew that the old man in front of it was very strong, and also knew that if it really made a move, it could only close its eyes and wait for death. No one wants to die if they can live, and it is no exception. Furthermore, it still wants to find Zhang Chen. Just when the little fox was thinking about how to escape. "Not only will I not kill you, I will raise you until you transform." Chen Sheng smiled cruelly. "At that time, I will send you back to the Zhang family, and let the head of the family personally make you into a real puppet. Then give it to the young master as a concubine." "Tisk, tisk, Zhou will be your concubine, the young master should be very happy," he said excitedly again. After hearing these words, the little fox felt creepy. For a moment, the smell on Chen Sheng's body became even worse, almost making him gag. The little fox knows. With its current strength, it has no way to resist, but it is unwilling to do so. After a long silence, it asked, "Your young master, was he on that spiritual boat just now?" Indeed, Chen Sheng nodded. Seriously, the little fox was extremely excited. "I thought they were people with the same name and surname, but I didn't expect them to be the same person." Although Chen Sheng's description was different from what it remembered, maybe Chen Sheng was just messing around. "Then can I see him? Just once, please," the little fox begged. "No." "Why? You are planning to turn me into a puppet. Can't you fulfill my last wish?" "Because I'm a bad person." The little fox was silent for a moment. Moreover, Chen Sheng suppressed his smile and said extremely seriously, I will not give you the opportunity to hurt the young master. I won't hurt him, I swear. No, you will, because you are a fox that only hurts people. 9 generations of villains, the heroines have all turned evil. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 84. Juyan Sect. The bell of the first peak rang loudly, echoing throughout the sect. In less than a moment, the top leaders gathered in the headmaster's hall. In addition to the heads of each peak and the law enforcement hall, there was also an old man with a slightly pale face and an ups and downs in his breath. He sat on the headmaster's seat and closed his eyes to sleep. After everyone arrived, Li Faju, the elder of the law enforcement hall, stepped out and said first, "Master, Zhang Chen drove the spirit boat to destroy Lingshanfang and destroyed more than 20 shops in various sects, affecting hundreds of cultivators and killing 3 people. This act violated the sect's rules of indiscriminate killing. He must be severely punished. In addition, Zhang Chen, as the eldest brother of Zhu Feng, indulged his crazy junior brothers and sisters to hurt others at will. This act is also against the right way," another elder of the law enforcement hall said. "Dang Gyuda and our sect have always had a very good relationship. Zhang Chen's behavior this time has destroyed the relationship between the 2 sections. If he is not severely punished, Danuta may unite with other sects and be detrimental to our section." The third elder of the law enforcement hall stepped out. This statement was obviously discussed in advance. The crime mentioned by Li Faju was just harming the monks of other sects, while the other 2 elders of the law enforcement hall directly raised the crime to the level of damaging the unity of the sect and bringing disaster to the sect. Although the crime was serious, no one participated in the discussion. For a time, the whole hall was silent, and the atmosphere was a little subtle. Except for Xiao Hongai's cold snort, the other peak masters kept silent. The head of Jianfeng Peak, Zhang Lingfeng, had a wandering look in his eyes, as if he was wandering in the sky. The head of Kifeng Peak was a bearded man, playing with the newly made spiritual weapon. The head of Yishao Peak seemed to be communicating something with the monster squatting at the door through a contract. The position of the leader of Danfen Peak is still vacant and has not returned. The other leaders of the peaks also looked indifferent and even felt a little bored. It is not their fault, but everyone knows that today's matter will end in vain. The reason is simple. Xiao Hongai brought out her grandfather. It was the old man who was sitting deep in the hall and resting with his eyes closed. It can be seen that Xiao Hongai is determined to protect Zhang Chen today. "Zhang Chen, what do you have to say?" glancing at the old man behind him, the head of the sect Gu Changqing asked. "Nothing to say," Zhang Chen replied in seconds. Gu Changqing was speechless and complained in his heart. "You say it? Just make a few quibbles, and I will go down the slope, and turn a big thing into a small thing, and this matter will be over, right? If you don't say it, how can I operate?" After rubbing his forehead, Gu Changqing looked at Xiao Hongai and said, "Junior sister, what do you think about this matter?" "Master, you can handle it. You are the master of Juyan section." Xiao Hongai stretched and replied lazily. Gu Changqing was speechless again. "Let me handle it? Do you have the ability to ask your grandfather to leave? This master is really aggrieved." "Master, this matter must be severely punished." Li Faju bowed. "My Juyan sect is a righteous section. Zhang Chen's actions are like indiscriminate killing, which is no different from the devil." After speaking, seeing that Gu Changqing still had no reaction, he said again, "Master, this matter is of great concern to the Dangyuda and other large and small sections. If it is not severely punished, not only will the reputation of the sect be lost, but it will also be ridiculed by other righteous sects and even the devil." Hearing this, Gu Changqing raised his eyebrows. He had just taken over the position of the head of the section. If he caused the reputation of Juyan sect to plummet and be ridiculed by other sects, he would indeed be derelict in his duty. "Zhang Chen, Juyan sect has always convinced people with reason. If you have any grievances, just tell me." Gu Changqing straightened his expression. "No, I did it, Zhang Chen admitted readily. Anyway, Lin Feng has already joined Juyan sect at this moment. The worst thing is that he will be expelled from the section. What is there to fear? If Juyan sect wants to abolish his cultivation, he will call someone. Although the plot will be messed up afterwards, it is impossible to admit defeat. He explained 9 lives, and he has explained enough. What a good sentence to convince people with reason. Xiao Hongai had something to say. Hearing this, everyone's eyelids jumped, secretly thinking that it was indeed coming. Xiao Hongai slowly stood up and walked to the center of the hall. She looked around and said, "Last year, the master of Jianfeng Peak competed with the master of Qiyao Sword Pavilion. The aftermath of the swords will spread thousands of miles, affecting countless low-level cultivators. At that time, why didn't he convince people with reason?" The corner of Zhang Lingfeng's mouth twitched. A few months ago, the master of Qifeng Peak went to the Sea of Red Flames to take the spiritual fire to refine the best spiritual weapon, but it caused the Sea of Fire to riot, and the flames were raging, instantly swallowing dozens of cultivators. At that time, why didn't he convince people with reason? Xiao Hongai asked again. The master of Qifeng Peak quickly buried his head. A few days ago, the master of Yashao Peak went out to travel, and his contracted monster mistakenly ate 3 cultivators as people from the magic way. At that time, why didn't he convince people with reason? Xiao Hongai asked for the 3rd time. The master of Yashao Peak smiled awkwardly, and the monster outside the door quickly covered his face. After asking 3 questions, Xiao Hongai looked at Li Faju again. "I didn't do anything." Li Faju's heart skipped a beat and he instinctively interrupted. Although Li Faju is in charge of the law hall, he arrested the sect's 9 peaks true teachings without the permission of the sect leader and my master. Is this action reasonable and legal? Xiao Hongai sneered. Li Faju's face turned red after being rebuked. Seeing Xiao Hongai looking at him again, the sect leader Gu Changqing hurriedly said, Junior sister, calm down, this matter is slightly different. What you said just now was an unintentional mistake, and Zhang Chen did it on purpose. But the ending is the same." Xiao Hongai waved her sleeves and said loudly, "We cultivators are the prey of the weak. It's good that Juyan sect follows the right path, but if we are bound by this, we might as well abandon our cultivation and hide in the mountains and forests to survive." After that, she added, "You said Zhang Chen killed people indiscriminately, so why didn't he use the swallowing sky-red python cannon? Just one shot can turn the entire Lingshanfang into ashes." This is sophistry. Li Faju was dissatisfied. If Zhang Chen destroyed Lingshanfang because of a competition with others, I would have no objection, but he allowed his men to do evil in Lingshanfang first, and then destroyed Lingshanfang in anger when he was stopped. Such behavior is no different from the devil's way. This time, it was Xiao Hongai who was silent. That was why she was angry. After all, in addition to wanting Zhang Chen to take on the important responsibility of Zhifeng, she also wanted Zhang Chen to walk the right path. But Zhang Chen relied on the strength of the Zhang family to make the whole Lingshanfang restless. This is an ironclad fact that cannot be disputed. Although she would not be completely disappointed in Zhang Chen, she was still angry. In my opinion, Zhang Chen should be imprisoned for half a month to serve as a warning to others. What do you think? Gu Changqing took the opportunity to make the final decision. Xiao Hongai still did not reply, but sat down again. Undoubtedly, she acquiesced to Gu Changqing's decision. Seeing this, everyone breathed a sigh of relief and cast a look of good luck at Zhang Chen. Everyone knew it in their hearts. If it weren't for Xiao Hongai's iron-hearted protection, Zhang Chen would definitely be severely punished. Although the punishment of being imprisoned for half a month is not small, it is undoubtedly a lucky escape compared to being expelled from the sect. But even so, Zhang Chen still didn't want to punish him. No way. In this life, no one except Xiao Hongai can do it. And this is based on the fact that he deliberately disappoints Xuanhuan. And when he was about to say something, "Shut up. This matter will be forgiven," the old man in the deepest part of the hall suddenly opened his eyes and stood up. "Ah!" everyone said in unison, and was stunned at the same time. Even Zhang Chen found it incredible. He was ready to fight hard. "Grand Elder, isn't this a bit too partial?" After coming to his senses, Gu Changqing carefully tested. "It is indeed too partial," the old man nodded, but said helplessly, "But this is not what I said, but the old ancestors' decree." "The old ancestors' decree?" Everyone was shocked and dared not say anything more. They stood up and saluted. "I will obey the old ancestors' decree." After the ceremony, Li Faju was unwilling and asked, "May I ask the Grand Elder, did the old ancestor say anything else?" Indeed, the old man nodded. "Oh? May I ask what it was?" The old ancestor said, "Too noisy, get out." When this was said, everyone was dumbfounded and exclaimed in their hearts, "Today's old ancestor is a bit irritable." 9 generations of villains, the heroines have all turned evil. Author, Fu Zituo. Chapter 85. 9 Peaks of Juyan Sect. In Yungxiao Hall, Xiao Hong'ai closed her beautiful eyes and fell into deep thought. Before she left the sect to look for Zhang Chen, Juyan Patriarch asked her not to punish him and said that he didn't want her to regret it. She didn't understand. Today, Juyan Patriarch personally came forward to protect Zhang Chen from being punished, but she didn't understand it. As for why Juyan Patriarch was so irritable, she didn't understand it even more. Too weird. In the end, Xiao Hong'ai could only sigh like this. She looked to the right side of the hall. There, Zhang Chen was sitting on a wooden chair. Zhang Lianyu rubbed his shoulders. Lin Mubai stood on one side, and from time to time he would stuff a jade slip into Zhang Chen, but was rejected by Zhang Chen. Qing Ning played with Xiaobai, circling around Zhang Chen, and burst into laughter. What a warm picture! Xiao Hong'ai wanted to cry. She didn't know how long she had been looking forward to such a picture, but the problem was, 3 of the 4 disciples in front of her went crazy. Apart from the 4 disciples who were out, only Zhang Chen was not crazy. As for the jade slip that Lin Mubai handed to Zhang Chen, Xiao Hong'ai also knew it. When she went to look for Zhang Chen, she heard from the monks that a wild thief appeared near the Hongduan mountains. He did not rob women or money, but only rob jade slips. At that time, she guessed that it was most likely Lin Mubai's doing. She didn't want to point it out. After all, it was useless to point it out. He was crazy. She was just a little puzzled. Why did Lin Mubai have to rob the jade slip? Only then did she understand. It turned out that Lin Mubai robbed it for Zhang Chen, because Zhang Chen was the first true disciple of Zhu Feng, but he practiced the secret manual of martial arts that was everywhere. Ah! Xiao Hong'ai sighed. She was helpless about this matter. She could be willful and protect Zhang Chen, but she could not go against the wishes of all the Supreme Elders. Because in this way, even those Supreme Elders would have a bad impression of Zhang Chen. Then, another question came to her mind. This time, her grandfather went to Ghost Ridge Soul Abyss and snatched back 2 9 Abyss Soul embryos. It was enough, after all, Zhang Lianyu had used one, and used it in front of all the great elders. But now, Zhang Lianyu's madness seems to have worsened. In this way, all 3 disciples need 9 Abyss Soul embryos, but there are only 2. Xiao Hong'ai originally planned to let her grandfather go to the 9 Abyss Soul embryo again, but she couldn't open her mouth when she saw her grandfather's weak appearance. It is said. This time, the great elder went to snatch the 9 Abyss Soul embryo and met a female ghost with unfathomable cultivation. Although she escaped by chance, the female ghost also warned that if the Juyan sect came to Ghost Ridge Soul Abyss to snatch things again, the Juyan sect would be directly transformed into a ghost domain. Although the Julian sect is not weak, it is unwise to provoke those ghosts for no reason. The only good news is, I don't know why, but the three crazy disciples are very honest when they are around Zhang Chen, which can be regarded as suppressing the madness temporarily. There is another problem, that is the seriously injured Lin Feng. How to say it, it's too miserable. Before Lin Feng joined Zhu Feng, he was paralyzed by three crazy brothers and sisters. In comparison, Zhang Chen is still sensible. Ah! Xiao Hong'ai sighed again, and couldn't help sighing. If this continues, she will definitely be driven crazy. Zhang Chen, come here, she waved to Zhang Chen. Zhang Chen came honestly, followed by three crazy people and a stupid tiger. You three, step aside first, Xiao Hong'ai frowned. Hearing this, Zhang Lianyu and others were unmoved. Seeing Xiao Hong'ai's gloomy expression, Zhang Chen also looked disgusted and waved his hand impatiently. The three left honestly again. Such a situation made Xiao Hong'ai's nose sour. As a master, she can't even take care of her own apprentice. Zhang Chen, she called softly, her voice choked. Master. Hearing the tone of voice, Zhang Chen quickly squatted down, held Xiao Hong'ai's white and tender hand and said, Master, don't do this, I'll take care of everything. Let go of your hand. Oh! After glaring at Zhang Chen, Xiao Hong'ai regrouped. Her shoulders trembled slightly, and she said with tears in her eyes, 3 of my apprentices have gone crazy. Yes, it's so miserable, Zhang Chen sighed. I didn't want to believe it at first, but judging from all the circumstances, Master, you may be poisoned. Xiao Hong'ai was confused. Can we still have a good chat? But on second thought, it seemed to make some sense. After all, it was her own apprentices who went crazy. Xiao Hong'ai fell into deep thought again. She really hadn't considered this possibility. But she hadn't heard of any poison pills or poisons that could make all her apprentices crazy. Seeing Xiao Hong'ai really began to blame herself, Zhang Chen quickly changed the subject. Master, I was just joking. Xiao Hong'ai did not reply. She raised her right hand and gently supported her face, and her red sleeve slid down, revealing her skin as white as cream. She looked at Zhang Chen quietly, without saying a word. After a long time, she said, Zhang Chen, you are not crazy, are you? How can you? Before he finished speaking, Zhang Chen was stunned, his eyes suddenly widened. He had never considered this possibility. The junior brothers and sisters were almost crazy, and he, as the eldest brother, seemed to be equally likely to go crazy. What if Xiao Hong'ai was really poisoned? But soon, Zhang Chen calmed down again. No matter who is poisonous, it must be related to the system. As a host, how can he have immunity? Besides, why is the system driving the host crazy? Simply unheard of. Has Ancestor looked for you recently? Xiao Hong'ai asked again. Zhang Chen shook his head and curled his lips. In his 9 reincarnations, he has never seen the Julian Ancestor. How could he possibly see him in this life? Through the original work, he knew a little bit about the Ancestor of Julian. The Ancestor of Julian came from the upper domain and was once one of the generals of the imperial dynasty. When the current empress was young, she had learned some great insights from the Ancestor of Julian, so the two could be considered to have a master-disciple relationship. It is precisely because of this that the Zhang family asked him to become a disciple of the Julian sect, hoping to use this master-disciple relationship to keep him safe. Although the idea was good, Zhang Chen knew it very well. The Empress is so cruel. She doesn't take action now, just because it's not necessary. As long as she seizes the opportunity or realizes that the Zhang family is out of control, let alone half a master, she will kill her even if her biological parents stand in the way. Recorded in the original work. Today's Ancestor of Julian has a short lifespan, and he usually feigns death to extend his life. But even so, he died soon after the fall of the Zhang family. After losing the Julian ancestor, the Julian sect also declined and was suppressed by multiple sects. In the end, relying on the continuous growth of the protagonist Lin Feng, the Julian sect could rise again, and even win the sect war and be promoted to the upper domain sect. That's strange. Our ancestor usually doesn't care about world affairs, but the recent decrees he issued are all related to you. Xuanhuan. I wondered. Master, what you mean is that apart from this time, the ancestor has also conveyed laws about me, Zhang Chen asked in return. Yes, Xuanhuan. I nodded and recalled, the last time you defeated Xuanfeng, true successor, when we were discussing your talent, the ancestor once said that people should only bother themselves, so let us wait and see what happens. And she originally wanted to tell her what the ancestor of Julian told her, but in the end she gave up the idea. After all, the ancestor of Julian asked her not to punish Zhang Chen. If Zhang Chen knew about this, he might act more confidently in the future. The ancestor's words today were a bit irritable. She changed her tone. It's indeed a bit strange. Maybe the ancestor is also crazy. Zhang Chen curled his lips. Nonsense, Xuanhuan. I immediately glared. Zhang Chen smiled. He was just talking, but he didn't actually believe it. After all, the ancestor of Julian was once a general of the imperial dynasty. Participated in wars with other worlds. For such a person who has lived for who knows how long, what big scene has he never seen? His heart is as strong as iron, how can he go crazy so easily? You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. 9 generations of villains, the heroines have all turned evil. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 86. Just when Xuanhuan I was worried. A 9 Peaks Great Elder arrived and reported, Peak Master, Lin Feng is awake. As soon as this statement came out, Zhang Chen's eyes narrowed slightly, and several cold lights flashed within them. Zhang Lianyu's body was filled with cold air. 2 machetes appeared out of thin air in Lin Muibai's hands. Xiaobai and Qingning, who were chasing and playing around, suddenly stopped. Gu. The elder swallowed hard and felt the killing intent permeating the hall. In your eyes, do I still have this, master? Xuanhuan I shouted. Knowing that she was on the verge of rage, Zhang Chen quickly said after glaring at Zhang Lianyu and others, Master misunderstood, we are happy for Lin Feng. Yes, I'm very happy. Zhang Lianyu nodded with a frosty face. Elder brother is right. Lin Muibai waved his machete. So happy, Qingning smiled with eyes like crescent moons. Seeing that all 3 people had expressed their opinions, Xiaobai thought for a while and kept nodding at the huge tiger head. Such a situation made Xuanhuan I even more angry, but she couldn't help but feel sad in her heart. After closing her beautiful eyes for a long time, she waved her sleeves bitterly and said, that's it, you all can leave. Zhang Chen left honestly, followed closely by Zhang Lianyu and others. As soon as everyone stepped out of the hall, Xuanhuan I's almost pleading voice came from behind, Zhang Chen, don't let me down. Zhang Chen was silent. He understood what Xuanhuan I meant. To put it bluntly, he wanted him to watch Zhang Lianyu and others to prevent these 3 lunatics from going crazy. After all, he is the only one of Xuanhuan I's disciples in Ju Peak who is not crazy. Don't worry, master. I can't guarantee anything else, but I won't let them mess around until Lin Feng passes the entry test and truly worships the 9 peaks. Zhang Chen replied after a long time. These words made Xuanhuan I feel a lot better. Although it was only for a period of time, at least this was a rare example of Zhang Chen being honest and obedient. It was not in vain. She knew that Zhang Chen had made a big mistake this time, but she still invited her grandfather to strongly protect Zhang Chen. After Zhang Chen and others left, the arriving elder hesitated for a while before speaking bluntly, Master Ju Peak, Please forgive me. Although we monks, madness is not uncommon. But the three true disciples of Ju Peak have become crazy one after another, and they all changed their usual ways and listened to Zhang Chen's words. Extremely close, I'm afraid this matter. Shut up, Xuanhuan I interrupted coldly, it's not just you. Even many supreme elders have also speculated and secretly investigated. There is nothing abnormal in the bodies of Zhang Lianyu and others. It is indeed due to their state of mind. The madness that arises. The great elder nodded and said no more. Bring Lin Feng to see me, Xuanhuan I said again. Okay, I'll ask my apprentice to go immediately. Inside the disciple's house. Become a disciple? Sorry, even if I die, Lin Feng, will never become a disciple of Juyan sect Zhufeng. After waking up, Lin Feng didn't even think about it after listening to the words of the Nine Peaks disciples in front of him. After several life and death crises, he completely gave up on becoming a disciple of the Juyan sect. Even doubtful. Maybe the Nine Peaks master, the beautiful master he longed for, might be a lunatic. The Nine Peaks of Juyan sect are all lunatics. Otherwise, why would he be so unlucky to meet three of them in a row? Still want his life? The person who came to summon Lin Feng was Zhang Hu, the disciple of the great elder of Zhufeng. Zhang Hu always felt that he was miserable. He and Lin Mubai used to be very close and could talk about everything. But after Lin Mubai went crazy, he was almost hacked to death by him. But the moment he saw Lin Feng, Zhang Hu felt lucky again. At least, he is not like Lin Feng, who can tell at a glance that he has suffered inhuman torture. Lin, brother Lin. There are rumors that something is wrong with senior sister Qingning. Is this true or false? Zhang Hu asked curiously. He originally wanted to call Lin Feng senior brother. After all, everyone knew that if Lin Feng became a disciple of Zhufeng, he must be a true disciple. But after all, I haven't started yet at this moment, so there is nothing wrong with calling him brother Lin. Something's wrong? Is that something wrong? Lin Feng was very angry and said loudly, that's a madman. A complete madman. She buried me alive twice. Ah! Zhang Hu was shocked. On the way here, he even met Qingning and greeted him with a smile. I can't tell. Brother Lin, senior sister Qingning is well known for her kindness and kindness. You haven't done anything harmful to God, have you? Zhang Hu asked. Fart, Lin Feng yelled. If that was the case, then he would admit it. But the problem is, not only did he do nothing, he also saved Qingning's life. But what's the result? Qingning wants to help him die? It's useless to talk more. None of you Juyan sect's Nine Peaks are normal. I have to leave this ghost place now. Lin Feng stood up and prepared to leave in order to avoid a long night and many dreams. Hearing this, Zhang Hu instantly became unhappy. What do you mean there is no normal one? Doesn't that mean he was also scolded? Furthermore, if Lin Feng was really allowed to leave right now, it would be difficult for him to do business. Brother Lin, you'd better go with me to see the Peak Master. Whether you want to go or stay will be decided later. The Peak Master won't force you, Zhang Hu said again. If you don't go, Lin Feng shook his head like a rattle, it's master who can teach three lunatics. It's definitely not normal. You must also want to deceive me and want me to fall into a trap. This kind of thing I have experience. Zhang Hu looked helpless. Strangely enough, if others said that Xuanhuan was abnormal in front of him, he would definitely be angry. But he always felt that Lin Feng was very kind and could not bring up any anger in his heart. Seeing that Lin Feng was really planning to run away from the door, he and another Nine Peaks disciple quickly stepped forward and lifted Lin Feng up, one on the left and the other on the right. Brother Lin, it's better to come with me, otherwise it will be difficult for me to do business, Zhang Hu said. Okay. This is a deception. Are you going to force yourself? Lin Feng became even more angry and said loudly, "I can't beat those lunatics, how can I beat you?" After saying this, the Qi-Jing annihilation technique in his body began to operate, and the black sword in Zi Mansion also wanted to escape from his body. But the next second, goo! There were bursts of abdominal rumblings, which made him feel excruciating pain. Only then did Lin Feng remember that Qingning, that madman, had given him a lot of Zijun blood and soil, and it was still in his body. Suffering from severe abdominal pain, even if he kept struggling, Zhang Hu and others were still carrying him towards the Nine Peaks Yongxiao Palace. On the way, Qingning appeared with a white tiger and said with a smile, "Thank you for your hard work, senior brother Zhang, come on." Hearing this, Zhang Hu immediately became energetic. Qingning is like this. He is obviously the third true successor of Zhu Feng, but when he meets anyone older than him, he will call him senior brother or senior sister. Coupled with his heart-warming smile, he is deeply loved by Zhu Feng's elders and disciples. Favorite. Senior sister Qingning, I don't believe Lin Feng at all when he says you are crazy. Isn't this a rumor? Don't worry, senior sister, leave this matter to me. I will tear open the mouth of anyone who spreads rumors about you in the future. Zhang Hu straightened his back and said. He, thank you, senior brother Zhang, Qingning said with a smile. It should. But senior sister, what are you doing with a spiritual shovel? Oh, this is, I won't tell you any more. Senior brother is here to find me. I have to run away quickly. After saying that, Qingning hid the spiritual shovel and left quickly on Xiao Bai. Looking at her retreating figure, Zhang Hu sighed sincerely. Senior sister is still so innocent and romantic. Even when she is running away from senior brother, she still smiles and everyone who sees her is infected by it. Huh. Brother Lin, you don't seem to be looking well. Has the injury recurred? 9 generations of villains, the heroines have all turned evil. Author, Fu Zituo. Chapter 87. Inside the Yongxiao Palace. At this time, in addition to Xiao Hong'ai, many elders from Zhufeng also gathered. Xiao Hong'ai intended to accept Lin Feng as the 6th true disciple of Zhufeng. This was a major event for Zhufeng and even the sect, so it would naturally be treated with caution. But let me go. You bunch of lunatics, Lin Feng, will never become your disciple. You tell me that the master who can teach 3 lunatics is normal? You are kidding. Hearing this, everyone's mouth twitched. Although Xiao Hong'ai was a little angry, she was more helpless. She did teach 3 crazy disciples, and these 3 crazy disciples also tortured Lin Feng. In this way, it is no wonder that Lin Feng changed his mind. Soon, Lin Feng was carried into the palace by Zhang Hu and others. After struggling constantly and suffering from severe pain in his abdomen, he was pale at this moment, and the wounds on his lower abdomen and shoulders broke open again, oozing a lot of blood. In too much pain, he couldn't even open his eyes completely. Grand Elder, he has eaten Zijun blood soil by mistake. Go get a Tongti pill, Xiao Hong'ai said. Her voice was gentle and clean, like the sound of a gurgling spring in a mountain stream, which made the listener feel comfortable all over. Hearing this, Lin Feng felt that his stomachache was gone. He suddenly raised his head, opened his eyes wide, and stood there like a puppet. He saw a beauty, a peerless beauty. The beauty had a graceful figure, wearing a red dress, with a beautiful head and eyebrows, white teeth, and red lips, and could be called a fairy. There was a bit of majesty between the slightly wrinkled willow eyebrows, but also revealed a bit of haggardness. The beauty smiled at him kindly. This smile was so charming that it could make everything in the world pale in comparison. Seeing that he was distracted, the beauty wondered again, strange, is he scared silly? Although he was scolding himself, Lin Feng felt relaxed and happy. He swallowed his saliva and asked softly, You are. This is the Lord of Zhifeng of Juyan sect, an elder answered on his behalf. Lord of Zhifeng? Isn't this the master of Zhongchen and those three crazy people? Lin Feng was startled again. He didn't forget that when he first saw Qingning, he was also shocked by her beauty like now, but in the end he was almost buried alive. And twice. He forced his eyes away, although he was reluctant, but he kept reminding himself in his heart. The most poisonous woman's heart. Old man Tianji is not deceiving me. He kept repeating this sentence in his heart like chanting a mantra. He felt that it was almost done, but when he opened his eyes again, he was still immersed in Xiao Hongai's beauty, completely unable to extricate himself, and his eyes became dull again. On the other hand, Xiao Hongai. If other people looked at her so directly, she would definitely feel disgusted. But for some reason, she always felt that Lin Feng was very friendly, and she didn't think about it in other ways. She just thought that Lin Feng was really scared. Ah! With a helpless sigh, Xiao Hongai said, Lin Feng, you were injured by my disciples this time, and I, as your master, cannot escape the blame. Since you don't want to worship me as your master, then I will give you some cultivation resources, and when you recover from your injuries, I will personally send you away from the section. Lin Feng noticed the problem. These words are reasonable, and people can't find any faults. This beautiful master doesn't seem to be crazy. With such beauty in front of him, it's hard for him not to be moved. But when he thought of Zhang Chen and the other three crazy people, he became hesitant again. Moreover, when he first met Qingning, Qingning's behavior was also very normal, but didn't he say that she was crazy? Of course, if you put aside the past and are willing to worship me as your master, I will teach you everything I know. As for the crazy disciples of my master, you don't have to worry. They are only temporarily crazy. I have the 9 abyssal embryo in my hand. Even if I can't cure it, I can suppress it, Xiao Hongai said again. After all, she still had a heart to love talents. With just one glance, she found that Lin Feng was already in the late stage of Ren Yuan. At such an age, coupled with Lin Feng's extremely condensed Yuan Dan, it can be inferred that what Qingning said when she sent a letter back to the sect was correct. This Lin Feng practiced the ancient exercises. He is also very talented. It is hard not to be moved by such a talent. Lin Feng didn't know what Xiao Hongai was thinking, but when he heard the 4 words 9 abyssal embryo, the old man Tianji who fell into a deep sleep actually sent out a soul power fluctuation. Obviously, this thing should be of great benefit to the old man Tianji. Lin Feng's eyes lit up immediately. Although returning to the lower domain is safe, the lower domain is short of resources, and it is difficult to find the natural treasures that can wake up old man Tianji. At this moment, he changed his mind. He has decided to worship the Juyan sect. Not for himself, but for old man Tianji. He has always been so loyal and righteous. Master, please accept my worship. Lin Feng knelt down and kowtowed directly. Such an abrupt change not only surprised Xiao Hongai, but also the other elders of Zhifeng. Don't you consider it? Xiao Hongai was stunned. No need to think about it, Lin Feng had a firm expression, patting his chest and talking nonsense. This is fate. I just came to the central region, there are so many crazy people in the world, why did I only meet the disciples of the master? And there are 3 of them. This is fate. I personally felt the master-disciple relationship between you and me. But you just said that you would rather die than worship me as your master. Before meeting the master, I did think so. But the master is brave enough to take responsibility for the mistakes of his disciples. As the master of the 9 peaks, he also treated me with great courtesy. I am lucky to be able to worship you as my master. I see. Although she always felt that something was wrong, Xiao Hongai still accepted this statement. She raised her hand to support him, And after Linfeng stood up, she said, the sect rules state that the true disciples of each peak cannot be decided by the peak master. You should rest and recuperate. After your injuries are healed, you still need to pass the true test. Only after your essence and blood are recorded in the book, you need to perform the apprenticeship ceremony. True test? These 4 words made Linfeng ecstatic. He is familiar with the test. When he was in the lower domain, he also joined some forces and sects, and naturally went through many tests of talent, luck, etc. Without exception. Every time he took the test, he shocked the audience and caused a sensation. In his eyes, the so-called test was just a stage prepared for him to show off. A chance to soar to the sky and attract everyone's attention. At that time, if the peak masters of each peak compete for it, he will resolutely worship Xuanhuan as his master, which will surely increase his favorability. Taking the opportunity, he might even ask Xuanhuan for the 9 abyss soul embryo, so as to wake up the old man Tianji. Just thinking about this situation, Linfeng was excited and felt that the hard work had paid off. After that, he was valued by the sect and Xuanhuan, so why should he fear Zhang Chen and the 3 crazy people? Master, don't worry, I will never embarrass you, Linfeng assured with a straight face. Seeing him so confident, Xuanhuan also smiled with satisfaction. Worried that Linfeng would have concerns, she added, don't worry, as long as I am here, no one can hurt you again. Master, this is too much. Linfeng smiled indifferently and said indifferently, since I have chosen to worship you as my master, I will naturally not care about the previous behavior of the second senior brother and others. Not only that, I will also find ways to help them. But the eldest senior brother, Zhang Chen. Xuanhuan wanted to say something good for Zhang Chen. Master, please listen to me. Linfeng raised his hand to interrupt, his expression still indifferent. This time, although the eldest senior brother scared me a lot, please don't punish him. Why? Xuanhuan was stunned. Linfeng sighed, although the senior brother behaved improperly, I can see that he is kind-hearted. I don't want to embarrass Master because of this. Xuanhuan fell silent. She wanted to cry. She had defended Zhang Chen countless times, but no one had ever stood by her side and considered her. When Qingning was young, she also trusted Zhang Chen very much, but she didn't care about her thoughts like Linfeng did. Ah! Xuanhuan sighed and looked at Linfeng with satisfaction. Obviously, with her cultivation and temperament, she would never completely trust a person because of a few words. But for some reason, the more she looked at Linfeng, the more she liked him, and she didn't even have the slightest doubt. If Zhang Chen could understand my good intentions like Linfeng, then I wouldn't have to worry so much. She sighed again in her heart. But this thought had just fallen. Master? What's wrong with you? Why did you lose your mind? Linfeng's concerned voice sounded. I feel a little dizzy. Please go back and rest. Oh. 9 generations of villains, the heroines have all turned evil. Author, Fu Zituo. Chapter 88. Xuanhuan is sick. It was obvious that with her cultivation, she was already immune to the disease, but she was still sick. After meeting Linfeng that day, she often felt dizzy. In the worst cases, she would even fall into intermittent sleep. When she woke up, her eyes would be dull and her mind would wander. This incident alarmed the head of Juyan sect and even 12 supreme elders. All the supreme elders took turns coming to Zhifeng to check Xuanhuan's physical condition, but found nothing unusual. Xuanhuan's grandfather also came. Xuanhuan was still awake at that time. She only said that she seemed to be dreaming, but she couldn't remember what she dreamed about. Helpless, all the elders had no choice but to invite the ancestor. But in this regard, the ancestor of Juyan also said that he was helpless. For a time, the atmosphere in Zhifeng was unprecedentedly solemn. But everyone was not too worried. After all, this situation was not uncommon. Many monks temporarily lost their minds due to the influence of inner demons. Everyone was certain that with Xuanhuan's cultivation and character, she would be able to return to normal soon. Only Zhang Chen had a vague premonition of something bad. He wanted to visit, but he didn't dare. She was worried that if she was really poisonous, this would only aggravate Xuanhuan's symptoms. A few nights later, while Zhang Chen was worried and a little distracted, Qingning slipped out with Xiaobai. She found Zhanghu and asked Ma Wu where his body was. Zhanghu didn't think much about this. After all, Ma Wu had taken care of Qingning during his lifetime, and he only thought that Qingning wanted to go and pay homage. That Ma Wu died a tragic death. The leader personally burned him into ashes and buried him behind Dan Peak. After Deng Gyuda learned about this, he actually asked for Ma Wu's ashes, and the leader agreed. It is said that these days, Ma Wu's ashes will be taken to Danggu Pagoda, Zhanghu explained. He was a little puzzled. It's strange, why should the ashes of our elders be given to Danggu Pagoda? Qingning didn't reply, just smiled. The two came to the mountains behind Danfan. There was silence all around, weeds grew everywhere, and all that came into view were dead trees. Occasionally, black crows flew over, making eerie cries. The two walked for a while. Pointing to the grave without a monument at the deepest point, Zhanghu said, as an elder of Danfan, even if Ma Wu died, he would not have ended up in such a miserable state. But unfortunately, what he did before his death really made people in Danfan hate him. So it was buried here. Qingning nodded, her smile suddenly fading. Under the moonlight, the originally innocent and romantic girl suddenly became a little cold. Under Zhanghu's gaze, she slowly stepped forward. Then, Zhanghu saw an unforgettable scene in his life. Qingning did not worship, but a spiritual shovel appeared in her hand and began to dig the grave. She smiled, but didn't seem to smile. Shovel after shovel, each shovel is extremely hard, as if to vent something. Xiaobai seemed to be frightened too. But after only a short hesitation, it decided to help. While its two front paws kept pawing, it murmured, "Everything is for defying heaven." With the joint efforts of a tiger and a girl, Ma Wu's ashes were soon taken out by Qingning. Wiping the dust from her face, the girl raised the ashes in her hand, and the smile returned to her face again. There was a fierceness in her big eyes, and she was smiling, but it made people feel like they were falling into the dark. "Elder Ma, why are you dead?" "But it's okay, I will still come to find you," the girl giggled. Xiaobai blinked and tilted his head. "Qingning, what are you going to do next?" "It's ashes," Qingning said matter-of-factly, "didn't I tell you? Senior brother is too soft-hearted and we need to deal with the aftermath. Such a situation, such a conversation is ear-splitting." Zhanghu was so frightened that he collapsed on the ground, trembling all over, and then saw Qingning suddenly looking at him and walking towards him with a smile. Instantly, terrifying. "Help, help." After screaming miserably, Zhanghu rolled and crawled away. "Qingning, you scared him to death," Xiaobai said. "How is that possible? Senior brother Zhang is a Yuan Dan monk, and his body will not produce impurities." Qingning shook his head. "But I smell like urine." "Xiaobai, you smelled it wrong." "Really? Maybe." The next day, Zhanghu also fell ill. His symptoms were different from Xuanhuan's. He was just hiding in the quilt and shivering. The same thing is that the Grand Elder of Zhifeng personally checked and found that there was nothing strange about Zhanghu's body. Finally, the Great Elder came to a conclusion. It must have been caused by fright. But what is it that can scare a Yuan Dan monk into this? Not only the Great Elder was puzzled, but other fellow disciples were also puzzled. Today is the day for Lin Feng's true biography test. In order to maintain his best condition, he spent the entire last night meditating cross-legged, unaffected by any disturbance. Seeing that the time was almost up, he opened his eyes suddenly. Just when he was about to say some bold words, his pupils suddenly shrank. He suddenly discovered the house he was in was actually covered with a layer of black dust. After using his vitality to investigate, he discovered it's actually ashes. Juyan sect, second peak. This peak is nameless, but it is the residence of many supreme elders. On weekdays, various sect ceremonies are held here. Dong. 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 The bell on the top of the mountain rang, and the bell rang 3 times. This was a true test. Hearing the sound, the disciples from all peaks ran towards the second peak in unison, aiming directly at the peak platform. It didn't take long for the 2 peaks, which were sparsely populated in the past, to be crowded with people. The disciples stood around the platform in a tacit understanding, waiting quietly. Soon, the peak masters appeared. Xuanhuan looked a little tired, and sat down at the position of the 9 peaks. Her appearance made many people breathe a sigh of relief. After all, today was the 9 peaks true transmission test. If Xuanhuan, the master and peak master, did not show up, it would be a bit impolite. Zhang Chen and the true transmissions such as Zhang Lianyu arrived at the same time and stood behind Xuanhuan. Master, Zhang Chen was about to say something but stopped. It's nothing, it's just a heart demon, I can handle it. Xuanhuan held her forehead and waved her hand, her voice a little tired. Is it really a heart demon? Then what is the master's heart demon? Zhang Chen asked again. This question made Xuanhuan sigh continuously. She believed that the heart demon was born because of Zhang Chen. After all, every time she lost consciousness and felt dizzy, she would hear Zhang Chen's voice, mixed with her own crying. Zhang Chen, it's not difficult for Lin Feng to pass the test. I will be in seclusion for a while afterwards, and Zhu Feng will be left to you for the time being, Xuanhuan said again. Okay, Zhang Chen agreed. Xuanhuan was a little worried, and wanted to remind her again, don't let your master down. But when the words came to her lips, she began to feel dizzy again. At this moment, Lin Feng arrived. His expression was a little gloomy, and he saw Qingning, who was smiling at him and making faces. He guessed that it was Qingning who did it. After all, among the 3 crazy people, only Qingning, who could bury people alive, could do such a crazy thing. Bad luck. Lin Feng cursed in his heart. On such an important day, he was covered with ashes for a night. In recent days, the 3 crazy people didn't bother him, which made him a little careless. Lin Feng couldn't help but sigh. If the old man Tianji hadn't fallen asleep, he would have reminded him. Why did it come to this? Alas! On the 7th day when the old man Tianji was away, I missed him. Brother Lin, do you like the gift Qingning gave you? Qingning waved and called out. Hearing this, Lin Feng's face darkened. What gift did you give him? Xuanhuan asked with difficulty. Qingning gave him a friend. His favorite friend, Qingning replied. So that's it, you are thoughtful. Hee. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. 9 generations of villains, the heroines have all turned evil. Author, Fu Zituo. Chapter 89. Zhang Chen had a hunch that Qingning was definitely up to no good. But at this moment, he didn't want to care at all. He was more concerned about Xuanhuan's condition, and the bad premonition in his heart was getting stronger and stronger. At this moment, a green shadow fell from the sky. It was the leader Gu Changqing. The appearance of Gu Changqing proved that the test was about to begin, which instantly ignited the enthusiasm of the disciples. In full view of everyone, he came to Xuanhuan and suggested, Junior sister, Why don't you leave it to me, senior brother, and you go back to the peak to rest first? Xuanhuan shook his head. Gu Changqing just asked casually, so he would not force it? Slowly walking to the front seat and sitting down, he winked at Li Faju. Li Faju understood, stepped forward and shouted, "Where is Lin Feng?" "The disciple is here." Lin Feng replied in seconds, jumped to the center of the platform, and stood in front of Li Faju. "I haven't had time to thank Elder Li for saving his life last time." He raised his hands and saluted. "I see that your bone age is not more than 17, but you have already reached the late stage of cultivation, and your talent is definitely not low. Your aura is stable, which proves that you and Dan is solid, and your character is neither arrogant nor impetuous. You are a malleable talent." "Yes, it seems I rescued a genius for the sect," Li Faju said with a smile. "Elder Li is so complimentary," Lin Feng said modestly. The more Li Faju looked at Lin Feng, the more he liked him, and he was already smiling from ear to ear. Returning to the subject, he spoke loudly again. "The true inheritance test is divided into 3 steps. The first test is talent, the second test is luck, and the third test is combat power. If all 3 meet the standards, you will be promoted to true inheritance immediately. If one of them exceeds the standard, you can also pass the test." Exceeding the standard, Lin Feng was a little confused. Li Faju had already expected it and pointed to the left and right sides. On the left side, there are hundreds of jade steps leading directly to the sky. On the right side, there is a simple plate with 2 fish, black and white, spliced in reverse, showing the yin and yang. The jade steps are called Dengxiao steps, and there are 100 steps in total. Those who have climbed to the 30th level have excellent talents, the 50-level talents are rare, the 80-level talents are rare, and the 100-level talents are called monsters. Among them, 5 the 10th level is the standard for true inheritance. If you can reach the 80th level, you can skip the remaining tests, Li Faju explained patiently. "So that's it," Lin Feng suddenly realized. "Then the ancient disc on the right is for measuring luck." "That's right," Li Faju nodded and explained again. "This ancient disc is the same as the Dengxiao step. They are both top-quality spiritual weapons. They are called the Qi Luck Dao plate. You only need to place your hand on the disc, and the yin and yang fishes will rotate and connect to the sky and the earth. Measuring luck. How do we calculate that we have reached the standard? The fortune is divided into 9 colors, with gold as the top and white as the bottom. The standard for true transmission is that it needs to reach the 5th color, and the fortune pillar should not be less than 10 feet. I see." Lin Feng kept nodding. Li Faju suddenly lowered his voice and reminded, "The combat power test is to challenge the true disciples of Tong Feng. You must survive at least 10 moves. I suggest you choose Lin Mubai. Although he has innate Taoist bones and is an earthly cultivation base, compared to others it's definitely the easiest." This statement coincides with Lin Feng's thoughts. Although Qingning is not strong in combat, he can bring contract beasts into the arena. Xiaobai is a big demon comparable to Tianyuan monk and can eat him in one bite. Lin Feng had personally experienced how powerful Zhang Lianyu was. Without the help of old man Tianji's soul power, he could only sustain 3 moves at most. As for Zhang Chen, thinking of the sword that slashed Pingling Shanfang that day, Lin Feng immediately twitched the corner of his mouth. There is no doubt that he will be defeated in 1 move. Compared with this, Lin Mubai is indeed the best choice. Of course, if you exceed the standard in one of the first 2 tests, you can choose to give up the combat strength test. This is the safest way, Li Faju added. "Thank you, Elder, for reminding me." Lin Feng clasped his fists in thanks. Although he was full of confidence, he didn't want to fight the madman again. After all, madmen are cruel and need to be avoided. After giving Lin Feng some time to prepare mentally, Li Faju gathered his strength again and shouted. "The test begins, climb to the sky to test your talent." As soon as this statement came out, Both the top management of Juyan sect and ordinary disciples were waiting to see what happened. Under the watchful eyes of everyone, Lin Feng came to the Deng Xiao steps. He looked calm, took a deep breath, and then climbed up the stairs. Without even taking a breath, he climbed to level 30 in an instant. Not bad, judging from his aura, he can reach 50. Gu Changqing nodded upon seeing this. Junior sister, this Lin Feng has some real talent. What the heck? Before Xiao Hong'ai could reply, Lin Mubai opened his mouth and spat. I knew when I entered the school that the senior brother could even cross the 80 jade steps without blushing and his heart not beating. This is the real deal. Gu Changqing's face turned dark. Forgive me, senior brother, head. You also know that Mubai. Xiao Hong'ai forced a smile while rubbing her temples. Humph, Gu Changqing turned his head. He is a dignified leader and it is indeed beneath his status to argue with a madman in public. And while he was looking away, Lin Feng had already reached the 70th level. Now Gu Changqing had something to say, and he smiled and said, Junior sister, this Lin Feng can probably climb the 80 jade level. This kind of talent is unique. Zhu Feng has found another treasure. Huh, ignorant, Zhang Lianyu sneered, so what about 80? That is Lin Feng's limit. During the test, senior brother reached the 89th level. Gu Changqing's face turned dark. Why is he always attacked by crazy people? Forgive me, senior brother, but you also know Lian Yu. Xiao Hong'ai smoothed things over again. Helpless, Gu Changqing had no choice but to turn his head again. As he expected. Although Lin Feng had begun to show signs of fatigue, he still climbed the 80 jade steps. Good. Gu Changqing clapped his hands and became excited. Juyan sect has gained another disciple with 1 in a million talents, which is definitely a blessing for the sect. In excitement, he turned his head to say congratulations to Xiao Hong'ai, but saw Qingning staring at him with a smile. What does the master want to say? Qingning asked. Gu Changqing held back his words. Junior sister, congratulations, Jianfeng Peak said. Zhang Lingfeng was not tactful and joked, congratulations to junior sister, there is another normal disciple. Uncle Zhang, you are wrong. Qingning blinked her eyes and answered in the same way, although I just returned to the sect, I have also heard that your disciple in the Earth Yuan realm was frightened to surrender by the sword of the senior brother. In my opinion, Jianfeng is a little abnormally weak. Zhang Lingfeng's mouth twitched immediately. Although Xiao Hong'ai deliberately concealed it, the top leaders of Juyan sect basically knew about Qingning's madness. The last time Jianfeng and Zhufeng lost in the competition, this matter has made him unable to raise his head recently. Now it is brought up again, which is really embarrassing. Zhang Chen was speechless. Every time he wanted to speak back, Zhang Lianyu and others would speak first. This made him speechless. He wanted to ask at this time, who is the villain? Why didn't he even have a chance to show his ability? As for Xiao Hong'ai, she was even more speechless. Although she was not in the right state, she had been paying attention to Lin Feng. When Lin Feng climbed up to the 80th jade step, she also praised him in her heart. But this praise made her even more dizzy. Not only that, even the praise of others to Lin Feng made her feel extremely harsh. At this time, the head of Kifeng Peak leaned over and said, Junior sister, this Lin Feng is really good. Not only is he extremely talented, but also... Shut up, Xiao Hong'ai's eyes suddenly turned cold. 9 generations of villains, the heroines have all turned evil. Author, Fu Zituo. Chapter 90. When the other peak masters saw this, they all smiled awkwardly. The master of the beast control peak is a woman with good looks but extremely muscular muscles. She also wanted to praise him, but the words came to her lips. It could be seen that Gu Changqing and others' expressions darkened due to the rebuke. She quickly turned around and communicated with the peak master of the formation peak on the side, Although there are no shortage of Tianzi outstanding people in all the peaks of our Juyan sect, I heard that Lin Feng is practicing the ancient skills have a bright future. The leader of the formation peak strongly agreed with these words. Just when he was about to express his thoughts, he quickly stopped him and said, "Senior Sister Jin, stop talking. Why don't you tell me? Junior sister is staring at you. Am I afraid of her? She recruits her own disciples. It's okay if she's not happy, but she doesn't allow others to tell me. Who doesn't know that I, Jinro, am outspoken and can say whatever I want?" Junior sister took out the red whip. Hearing this, the master of the royal beast peak quickly stopped talking. Her contracted beast is a huge red-maned lion with blazing flames in its breath and 4 pupils. At this time, the red-maned lion is lying at her feet, yawning from time to time and revealing its terrifying fangs, breathing out bursts of sparks. After hearing the words of the peak master, the red-haired maned lion spoke disdainfully, "That's right, Sister Jin can say whatever she wants. Not only does she say it, I also say it. This Lin Feng really doesn't, ah." Before it finished speaking, it received a huge slap from its owner. Seeing such a situation, the other peak masters no longer dared to say anything. They all looked at their noses, and hearts and remained silent. Even so, they still complained in their hearts. "Why don't you praise your own disciples to others? This is unreasonable." At this time, Lin Feng had already walked down the stairs to the sky. As Zhang Lingyu said, 80 steps was already his limit. Going higher would be like his body was filled with lead and he would be unable to move at all. After returning to the ground platform, he felt that what was waiting for him would definitely be the praises of the peak masters and the admiration of the disciples of the Juyan sect. But who would have expected? No movement. Not only did the head of the Juyan sect and the peak masters remain silent, but even the reactions of the Juyan sect disciples who were watching were extremely dull. Seeing Lin Feng's surprise, Li Faju stepped forward and said, "When Zhang Chen became a disciple, he climbed to the 89th level of the sky. When Lin Mubai became a disciple, he climbed to the 95th level of the sky. When Zhang Lianyu became a disciple, he climbed to the 90th level." Lin Feng understood. Compared to these 3 people, his 80-level test results were really not good enough. This is also proven. The middle territory is definitely not comparable to the lower territory. His talent can indeed shock everyone in the lower territory. But in the middle territory, a place full of talents, it is difficult to achieve shocking results with talent alone. "Nephew, there is no need to be discouraged," Li Faju comforted him. "Lin Mubai has an innate talent, Zhang Lianyu has the appearance of an empress, and as for Zhang Chen, putting aside everything else, his talent is indeed good. They all call him Master Nephew, which shows that his favorability towards Lin Feng is getting higher and higher." Again, Lin Feng completed the talent test exceeding the standard and became the 6th true successor of the 9 peaks. There is indeed no suspense anymore. "Master Nephew, do you plan to continue the test, or do you want me to take the blood essence from your eyebrows, and after the blood essence is registered, you will officially become the 6th true successor of the 9 peaks, Li Faju asked again. After saying that, he lowered his voice again, "If you have confidence in your luck and combat power, I suggest you continue the test. Although the entry of your essence and blood is only a necessary step to join the sect, who takes your essence and blood has a lot to do with it. Be particular about it." "Oh? Ask Elder Li for advice." Lin Feng raised his eyebrows. "The higher the status of the person who takes your essence and blood, the more important you are," Li Faju said seriously. "Take Zhu Feng as an example. Zhang Chen's essence and blood were collected by the master of Zhu Feng, and Lin Mubai and Zhang Lianyu took matters into her own hands. That's it," Lin Feng suddenly realized. To put it bluntly, this is an attitude problem of the sect. If he can be noticed by people with higher status, he will naturally obtain more cultivation resources in the future, and he will also establish natural prestige among the disciples of Juyan sect. I dare to ask Elder Li, has anyone alarmed the Supreme Elder or Ancestor during this true inheritance test? Lin Feng asked curiously. Ancestor doesn't care about worldly affairs and won't pay attention to these things. Li Faja shook his head with a smile, but then changed the topic. However, in our Juyan sect that has been established for thousands of years, there is one person who has alarmed the Supreme Elder, and he is also the strongest Supreme Elder. Go to the Great Elder. Who? The fourth true successor of Nine Peaks, Mu Kuei. Mu Kuei? Lin Feng had an impression of this name because he heard it from Qingning. It is said that Mu Kuei has the body of a warrior emperor. He cultivates himself but does not cultivate Taoism. Although his realm is not high, his combat power is extremely strong. But just how strong Lin Feng is unknown. Have you ever seen, my nephew, a monk from the lower fourth realm knocking back a Yuan Dan cultivator with just one punch? With 2 punches, the Yuan Dan cultivator was blown away and his muscles and bones were broken. Li Faju asked seriously. How is this possible? Lin Feng couldn't believe it. Although there are not many monks with cross-realm combat capabilities, there are certainly no few, and this is the case for him. According to common sense, being able to fight across small realms, such as the early and mid-game, is already considered a leader. Those who can fight across large realms are definitely rare. Although Lin Feng is currently in the late stage of Yuan Dan's early stage, if he goes all out, he can fight against people in the late stage of Yuan Dan. This is a big realm he has crossed, and it is also his proud capital. But these are all across realms, not across chasms. What separates the lower fourth realm and the Yuan Dan fourth realm is not a realm, but a chasm. A natural chasm. Sword cultivators are known for their fighting power, but even Li Faju, a Tianyuan peak sword cultivator, can only barely touch the edge of the upper 4 realms. Although his fighting power can be comparable to that of ordinary upper 4 realms, he can never win the battle. The same is true between the lower 4 realms and the Yuan Dan 4 realms. But Mu Kuei, with his lower 4 realms, could actually beat a Yuan Dan cultivator with 2 punches. Such things are unheard of. Nephew, don't doubt it. I saw it with my own eyes. Thinking of the situation that day, Li Faja still remembers it vividly. When Mu Kuei was tested for the true teaching, although his talent and luck did not meet the standards, his fighting power was exaggerated and terrifying. Originally, the true teaching's fighting power test was to challenge the true teaching of the same peak, but Zhang Chen was punished by Xiao Hong'ai to face the wall that day. Lin Mubai was unwilling to fight, and Qingning was out and had not returned. Therefore, the one who fought against Mu Kuei in the end was Zhang Hu, the first person under the Nine Peaks true teaching and the disciple of the Nine Peaks Great Elder. Zhang Hu originally thought that this should be his chance to show off, but he was knocked away by Mu Kuei, who was in the lower 4th realm, with 2 punches just after he stepped on the stage, and ended up with broken bones. It took him several years to recover from his injuries. Speaking of Mu Kuei, Li Faja sighed again. Mu Kuei is a good seedling. Although he is very powerful, he is a dull and honest person. He never bullies the weak and never fights with others unless necessary. Unfortunately, after being ridiculed by Zhang Chen in public, he accepted a mission and left the sect, and has not returned yet.